Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WodCAST podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Ift. If you're watching us right now on YouTube, I love you because I'm not getting traction on YouTube when I think this is where it's at, people. This is where you can see me. Maybe it's me. Maybe you don't want to see me, but this is where we're at. We also, obviously, people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have listened to us on iTunes over 5 million times, and that's not a joke. We have great numbers on iTunes. We don't do well on YouTube. And I think it's just, you don't want to see me, and it hurts my feelings. But that's where we are, too. So once COVID's over, it's going to be a little better when we're in the room together and we can do more stuff and show more stuff. But as far as it goes now, this is it. It's like, look, do you watch porn with just the sound? Does that work for you? I don't know. I got to have some video there. I need some substance. Well, I'm here. If you want to see me and I show you things like the myopucks you can get or the leopard claw you can get, I'm going to take this in right now as soon as I'm done, this leopard claw, and I'm going to use it to scrape my ankle. I watched this whole video that Kelly Starrett did all about using one of these things, and look how beautiful that thing is. Well, anyways, you get this, and you scrape and get out. I'm gonna make my ankle more flexible so my squats are better. How about that? Because I've been doing CrossFit, people. Yeah, I got off of I was doing hunters training for a while. Then I was just doing purely calisthenics because I didn't have any weights anywhere. I'm back in my own gym, and I just don't have time to do anyone's programming. I like Matt Chan's programming. I like Hunter's programming, but I'm just doing main site right now. Anyways, donate to the Patreon. We're doing 5 episodes a month now, so you get that extra episode, which is I'm like contacting people like people that I find like doing interesting stuff. Not so much CrossFit. That'll be the extra episode, or it'll be a 30-40-50 with me, Hunter McIntyre, and Bobby Williams. That's the kind of stuff that will be on that 5th extra episode. Maybe a comedian. I talked to Shane Moss, a friend of mine who's like an expert in psychedelics. I'm going to do an episode with him. The guy knows everything about everything. He's just such a cool, interesting guy. So we're going to do that episode. Those will be the stuff that'll be available on the Patreon 5th episode. It's like the 5th element. This is the 5th episode. If you want the 5th episode, you got to give to the Patreon. I'm trying to build a Patreon, people. I love you guys. I mean, I really do. And I'll tell you why. Because I did a show called Talking Shit for years. Turned into the Bingle Show. Half the people that listen to the show were the meanest, most evil people in the world. They would write to me and say horrible things like, I hope you die, you have AIDS, blah, blah, blah. Very rarely do I get a mean comment from you people. You're very nice. You don't comment as much. Those people had no life, and they commented like 50 times a day. You don't comment as much. I really appreciate comments because it makes me know that I'm getting traction. But when I do, they're 95% of the time, they're very nice. And there's guys that have been the Gordon Wagners of this world, the Garth Willoughbys, the John Ware, the people that have been there, that listen to every episode and been there. I love you guys. And thank you for pestering Bert Kreischer. Bert Kreischer is a comedian friend of mine. If you don't know, I've never had him on this show. He's been on my other shows. I've been on his show. He does a lot of contests with Joe Rogan and Tom Segura about who's fatter and blah, blah, blah. And they do it to, engage people and get a lot of following. This wasn't even my idea. Somebody said, Bert's done CrossFit. Why don't you go up against him in the CrossFit Open? I don't like to do the CrossFit Open because I don't want to get hurt. I did it as a joke last year in the 60-plus women's. I lost to all those women. I would agree to do it against Bert. That is something I would do because it would be fun. I think I could crush him. There would have to be some kind of scaling option, like Bert gets some kind of advantage, like a handicap, because I'm not that much. It's not like I'm that much in shape. I just don't think Bert does CrossFit that often, so it wouldn't be fair. Because he's got an engine. He claims he's got this like Mickey Mantle gene where he can party all the time and still like be like this awesome athlete, but I really don't think so. Anyway, I would compete against Bert. So you guys every single one of you, bug him as much as you can on social media. He doesn't realize how big the CrossFit world is and how much I've talked to some sponsors. They would get involved with it. I'd go head-to-head with him. He can come over and work out in my garage gym. I think I'll have pretty much everything you need to do it. Or we could go to Precision or Malibu CrossFit or something. I'm sure they'd open up for us and let us do the workout there, and I could spank Bert. So you guys bug him because he's not going to do it unless he sees enough people bugging him. Go to at Bert Kreischer or at Bert. I don't know what is Bert. He's Bert Kreischer. He's famous. Go after him. Bug the shit out of him. Be like, why aren't you going to compete against Eddie? Huh? What are you afraid? I did not egg this on until right now, and it's just because he responds back to my texts and goes, ha ha ha. That's it. And I don't know. So anyway, that's the deal with that. I hope you guys are all doing the Open. It should be fun this year because the pandemic. It's weird. It's a weird situation. So it's something everybody can get involved in. Like I said, the Patreon is the best way to support the show, or just bug Bert. It's a really good way to support the show. I don't know if you guys know what happened on Wednesday, but I don't talk politics on the show. I didn't celebrity move into my neighborhood. I'm not going to tell you his name. Here we are, face to face, a couple of silver spoons. Anyway, posted on my next door some political stuff, and I don't like politics in my social media. So I might just have to go knock on his door. Here we are, face to face. Let's not talk politics. I try to keep him off the show. I know some of you don't like my politics. I try. Sometimes I can't. What else is going on? Let's get back to the show. Anthony Roberts is our guest today. If you know Anthony Roberts, he wrote I would say he's an expert on steroids. There aren't many people out there in the world that are experts or claim to be experts. He doesn't claim to be. He's written a lot of articles on steroids. He admits to using steroids. He's a rugby player. He got into it. He's a really good athlete, and he got into using steroids and learning about them and then writing about it. So he's written for a lot of the muscle magazines. He wrote a controversial article years ago about which CrossFitters in the CrossFit Games, by their body fat percentages, look like they're doing steroids. I couldn't get him on the show forever. Finally, I just sent him a random message, and he agreed out of the blue to do the show. Real good guy, really fun show, really interesting. Some of the stuff's over my head, but I just always wondered. I had a lot of questions, and I ask all the questions. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Anthony Roberts. Next week, I have such a big week planned with so many interviews this week. It's hard doing so many interviews and then spacing them out once a week because I want it to always stay relevant to what's going on. And so the intro is where you'll get, for sure, relevancy. But I did record this week with Anthony Roberts. It's just they might start piling up after this. We got some sponsors. I know I have sponsors. I want to see who they are. Who are my sponsors? This should be easy because I'm drinking it right now. That's right. I'm having a little bit of my old NorCal margarita, everybody, if you know what that is. If you ever read Rob Wolf's book, the NorCal margarita was tequila, squeezed lime, and club soda. There's a reason for that. Rob said that the tequila is the best drink, best alcohol because it comes from a plant, where a lot of the others come from potato or blah, 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 whatever, wherever they get whiskey. I don't know. This comes from a plant and tequila, and then the soda water, and then the lime blunts the insulin release. So you squeeze a whole bunch. I think he said like half a lime in there. But here's the deal. I'm not drinking. It's not that I don't drink anymore. I just don't like to drink anymore. I really don't enjoy it. Every once in a while, I crave a beer. But I do like this drink. It's fun. My wife was having one, so I said, yeah, I'll have one, but I don't want the alcohol. So what did I do? I put in a Ritual. What are you saying? What's a Ritual? Ritual Zero Proof. Go to Ritual Zero. It's part of the jingle for the commercial. Ritual Zero Proof is a zero proof alcohol. So you get the bite, you get the burn, you get the heat. You know what I'm talking about? You get all of that, and you get all the great taste without any of the negative effects of alcohol. I'm not going to have a hangover tomorrow. I'm not going to feel like crap. I'm going to be able to work out tomorrow. I'm not going to be dehydrated. I've got everything that it gives you, all the good, none of the bad. All right? And a lot of people, it's the new year. You're quitting drinking. A lot of people, there's pregnant women out there. You want a margarita. Guess what? Put in Ritual Zero Proof Tequila. You like whiskey. They got whiskey. You like gin. They got gin. You like Four Loko. They don't have Four Loko. But they do, like a lot of people give up alcohol for this month. A lot of people give up alcohol for life. This is your solution right here. Check them out. Go to ritualzeroproof.com. They got a promo code, WodCAST Holiday. WodCAST Holiday. One word, WodCAST Holiday. You're going to get $5 off. Get yourself some of this. I mentioned in another episode, it'd be really fun to like spike kids' drinks at a party and just be like, hey, man, here's some hardcore tequila. And then when they're like, I feel loaded. And be like, well, you're full of shit. Again, it is just a great beverage. Gives you everything you need except for all the bad stuff. All right? Ritualzeroproof.com. Use the promo code WodCast Holiday. Cheers, everybody. I'm supposed to be touring. I canceled this week in Minneapolis. I just didn't think it was safe. Sorry for all you COVID is a hoax guys, but I got a family. I worry. I got elderly parents. I got some disease in the family that I got to worry about. So I'm kind of protecting them. I also had a couple friends come down with it this week, and some people close to me that I know. Actually, weirdly, 4. So it just seems a little scary, and I'm just going to back off a little. I'm supposed to be in Vegas next week at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club, which is one of my favorite comedy clubs in the world, and I love Brad to death. I haven't made a decision yet if I'm going next week or not. So I will probably know in the next day. So I'll tweet or Instagram or something that I'm going. If you'll see it, you see it. If you don't, I'm not going to be there. You know, my tour as far as what's going on, I'm just right now I'm working on my special. I've got an hour special coming out. You'll be able to get it, I think, on Amazon, or it might even be available on YouTube. That's no joke. Australia, it's going to be available on television only. I'm working on a TV show right now, which is good. So developing a new TV show. So hopefully I can bring some money into this family, because this touring thing ain't working out right now, if you know what I mean. I just did a really fun wink if you want to check out the YouTube. All right, listen. You want to know about steroids? You want to know about steroids and CrossFit? You want to know which ones you should take, which ones people are taking, how people avoid. This is the episode for you. Anthony Roberts, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the episode. All right, so how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am, you want me to be honest? I got 2 kids. I am beat the fuck up. It's impossible. It is, like, when you clean one thing up, you turn around and, like, right behind you is just, like, looks like a tornado hit. And so you just have to give in. Just like, it's.
So I'm in I don't know if you could tell, I'm in a hotel room.
Where are you? What part of the country are you in right now?
Right now I'm in Florida.
Oh, nice.
So I'm in a hotel room, but they don't clean it anymore unless you ask them to clean it, because they don't want to, like, COVID your room or whatever.
Right.
So it's the same thing. Like, it gets messy, and I go to work and I do my thing, and then I come home and I'm like, damn it, I didn't leave a thing for them to clean. It used to be you leave the thing for them not to clean.
Right.
Like, the do not disturb. Now it's like disturb.
I'm the don't clean guy. I live in hotels, and I just sleep really weird hours, and I hate maids coming in. And so I just am like, it's 4 days. I'll be here. Just leave me some towels outside. Like, I don't need my sheets changed every day. I don't change them every day at home. Like, why am I going to change them every day in a hotel room? I can throw shit in the trash myself, like, and if I have like a lot of trash, I'll just walk it out as I'm leaving. I don't like them in there anyway. I don't want them in there cleaning every single day. So, so I'm fine with it. I've had so many.
I'm here for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've spent months in hotels, months touring. Like sometimes I'll be in Australia 3 months in a row in a hotel. And in that situation, I do have them clean, but not every day. But I've done, like, it just used to be, when they like knock and you're like, I used to drink a lot and party, and they like knock in the morning and be like, housekeeping. And I'm like, I'm sleeping, go away. And then like 2 minutes later, they're like, housekeeping. And I'm like, it's like that Tommy Boy thing. So I remember I used to just sometimes I'd be like passed out, like naked in bed, and I'd like look up and there's someone like standing there cleaning the room. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, you can't come in here. But my buddy one time, another comedian, was sitting in I think it was in Singapore. He's sitting at his laptop and he's typing away, like working. And he decided to film because the guy kept trying to get in his room. And my buddy's completely naked, and he shows you with the laptop. Like, he aims it down. And the guy just comes in and just starts cleaning around him while my friend's sitting there, like, stark naked. And it's just, I don't need them. I don't need the maids in there.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I've been in Airbnbs for a while, and because, everything's nuts right now. And I kind of like the Airbnbs if it's like a private sort of thing, and then you don't have to worry about even seeing someone.
Right.
But, hotels, I got to eat. I have to eat. And
yeah.
I've been here like 2 days, and the garbage is like piled up. Like, it's like, I don't know.
Are you a big eater?
I don't know what my problem is.
Are you a big eater? Are you one of these guys that has to have like 8,000 calories a day?
No, not at all. But, if you're getting whatever, Chipotle or McDonald's or whatever, that's a lot of garbage. Like, it's not like eating at home. There's dishes. Eating takeout or Grubhub or whatever. It's garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. I just put it out.
Just physically piles up.
I just put it right outside the door of my room. They pick it up in like 2 minutes, or like there's like the where the hotels are creepy during COVID. I've only stayed in, I think, one hotel since COVID's happened. And it's just, there's this like eerie feeling in them of like, no, I stayed in two. And I don't know, there's just a weird, creepy feeling.
Well, nobody gets on the elevator with you, right? Like, there could be 10 people waiting for the elevator, and you get on and they all just stare at you like you take it alone. And it's like people are kind of weird with masks. Like, you have to put it on between every bite when you're eating in the hotel. Like,
that is weird.
It's definitely weird.
I never liked elevators before this, so it gives me an even better excuse not to ride them. But I know New York City, where I lived for 10 years, they think that could have been like the density of the population is why. Same with LA, it's a huge population in a small area, not small area, but huge population. And they think that elevators could be a big contributing factor to COVID being spread. If you're in there with someone, it's just such a small confined space with poor ventilation, and you're just breathing their air.
Yeah. There's a sign in the one here that says, like, it's got CDC recommendations. Like, there's an elevator, and then somebody wrote, like, defaced it with the letters BS. Like, they don't believe the CDC, like, and the outlet for this civil disobedience is like the elevator at a Holiday Inn or whatever.
I am in love with the disbelief of science, that, like, because it's usually like my dumbest friends that are the ones that are like, oh, let me tell you about, Fauci. And I'm like, oh yeah, you tell me about him.
Well, to me, right, it's always kind of and there's only two camps, right? And this goes for everything, right? You're either the dude during the Salem witch trials who was like, I don't know, let's dunk them and see if they're witches. Yeah. Or you're the dude who was like, no, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's completely insane. And there's no middle ground. There's no let's kind of dunk people and see if they're witches.
Well, the one
right? It's just you're trying.
I lost you for a second. I'm sorry, you froze up because of the Wi-Fi, I think. You there? Did I lose you? I lost you. Oh, there. I lost you for a second. Wi-Fi. What I was going to say about that is that, I'm very like anti-conspiracy theory and stuff like that. But, being in health and fitness, we're on the side of like, hey, you need to eat meat. You need to, you need your, omega-3 fatty acids. You need this, you need that. And you're looking at like still the government telling you to eat high carb diets and this and that. And you're like, wait a minute. We know that they're lying to us. We know they're lying there. We know they're wrong, that their science is off. Like, and it's not dogmatic. It's just like, hey, all of the evidence that we've seen points in this direction. We know why they are going in that direction is because of money, because lobbyists. And so sometimes it's hard to trust the government with, like with all these lockdowns and everything. We know a lot of the lockdowns and a lot of the government regulations aren't for health reasons. They're because the right people lobbied them. So it is, I can see some civil disobedience in that regard. And also you look at like the weapons of mass destruction. There was a guy who came back from Iraq who the CIA sent over who was like, hey, everybody, there's no weapons of mass destruction there. And the American government was like, there's weapons there. They're all over the place. And we're going to invade and we're going to spend $1 trillion. And that was because all these defense contractors were like, yeah, let's go invade and let's spend money and let's make money. And this guy's like, but there's no weapons there. And he was silenced. So,
right. But like, we're looking at like, what's the volume, right? So if you're talking about a guitar amp, right? And the volume goes from 1 to 10, right? The volume on that, right? That conspiracy theory volume is like a 1, right? That's an intelligent, this happened. We can prove it happened. There were no weapons of mass destruction. As far as conspiracy theories, that's a 1, right? You crank it up a bit. You say, well, I don't think we know everything about 9/11. Maybe that's a 2 or a 3. Then there's people that are like, whatever, flat earthers. That's an 11. That's Spinal Tap.
Lizard
people. That right. So a conspiracy theory doesn't have to be total, batshit crazy.
There's a spectrum.
Then there's what's up? Yeah,
there's a spectrum. I see what you're saying, and that's a good point because there is conspiracy. There is, I always say follow the money. A lot of times, just follow the money, and if you see where money's going, you can see why decisions are made. A lot of times. But a lot of times it's not like that. So it's hard to say, and you really have to do a deduction. I just wrote a tweet the other day where I said, if America was a judge, we would find people guilty before listening to the defendant. Like, we just listen to one side of it. Everybody in America listens to one side of the argument, the one they want to hear. It's their echo chamber. And they go and they get their confirmation bias. They listen to the plaintiff. And, oh, wow, this guy sounds guilty. Guilty! And it's like, but you didn't even listen. Like, if you watch, like, the People's Court or Judge Judy or whatever these shows are, these court shows, you always think the guy's guilty before he defends himself. You're like, holy shit, what a piece of shit this guy is. Put him in jail, blah, blah, blah. And then you listen to him and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Well, America's always
that's reasonable.
America, like Fox is the plaintiff and CNN's the defendant, and as soon as or vice versa, and as soon as they listen to one, they make their decision. And I'm like,
well, yeah. And the thing is, you can learn, like you were saying, it's always like the sort of your biggest idiot friends who have like the most wacky theories, right? But you could, so if you talk to like a moon landing person, right? That we never landed on the moon, and like Scorsese or Kubrick, whatever. And you talk to them, right? And they say, well, the Van Allen belt, the radiation is 1.5 milgauss. And you can learn something from them, right?
Sure.
Because if you talk to them about I don't know what the Van Allen belt was until a nutty conspiracy theory guy told me.
Yeah,
so you can learn from either the Fox or the CNN, no matter how nutty it is, if you sort of, fact check and pick your battles,
Yeah. Who was it? The Gulf of Tonkin is a really good example of
Yeah.
one that people don't talk about enough. And then people talk too much about Building 7 or all these different conspiracy things. Like I watched or listened to the episode of Rogan with InfoWars psycho, what's his name?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. I listened to the episode, and if you
Right.
listen to Alex Jones talk to Joe, sorry, I lost you for a second. If you listen to Alex Jones talk to Joe, you're like, wow, this guy sounds pretty reasonable, and Joe's giving some credence to him, to what he's saying, and you're like, wow, there's some. And so I listened to him, and I'm like, maybe this guy's not completely crazy. But then if you go look at like experts debunk him, you're like, oh, he was just lying. He was lying here. He was lying there. He was lying everywhere. And it's just lie after lie after lie. And anyone, like I listened to Trump yesterday on the talking to, the Attorney General, or not the Attorney General, the Secretary of State of Georgia about the votes. And if you listen to Trump, you're like, holy shit, they stole the election. And then you listen to the Secretary of State dispute. No, we investigated that. That's not what happened. No, sir, you're listening to social media,
right.
And you're like, oh. And so it has to be debated. And the problem is these people won't get in the room together and talk to each other. You never hear, I think the last good
right. That's exactly the problem.
The last good debate I heard is when Chris Kresser was on talking to the the MMA fighter on Rogan about meat and vegans, like which is healthier and blah blah blah. And they both basically, what you could take away from the entire debate was that a plant-based diet is really healthy for you, but there's no reason why you can't add meat to a plant-based diet, and be healthy. It's just saying cut out processed food and you'll be great.
Well, and the thing is too, right? So I was watching a show the other day. It was a foreign show, and one dude on it was American. He's from Georgia, and he mentioned a turducken, right? And that's right. And if you're foreign, you're like, you do what now? We're gluttonous, right?
Oh,
there's no denying this. We're like a gluttonous.
Let me explain to the audience let me explain to the audience if they don't know. A turducken's a turkey stuffed with a chicken, stuffed with a duck, stuffed with sausage.
If we could get an ostrich and stuff that into an ostrich, that's what we would do.
Yeah, there's
that's the thing, right? So people kind of don't understand the general bigger is better, gluttonous kind of nature of the country. And it was interesting to hear a foreign guy just say, wait, surely this doesn't exist. And he fact checked it, Googled it. And that's the thing is that, a plant-based diet, it's great. And then you could add some meat in and maybe it's even better, but we're not like that. We're like, no, add a shit ton of meat in and actually just pile it on your plate. We can't do that. We're not a society of moderation in this country.
No. I used to do a bit about a turducken and on stage, but all my jokes that I kind of make, people sometimes think they're really offensive, but they're like, what I try to do is make you laugh at stuff you're not supposed to laugh at. And I always try to point out the ridiculousness of something or the fact, people go, I see what you did there. Like I used to do a joke about 1 in 4 people in Africa had AIDS. And this woman goes, I thought your joke was so offensive. And then I realized afterwards, you just informed an audience about the problem of AIDS in Africa. And she's like, that.
Right.
And that's not that I'm out trying to save the world by any means. I'm a piece of shit. But I am that is what I do try to do. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a satirical comment about something. And on my podcast, my old podcast one time, these guys got into having an eating contest on the show, and they're like, oh, I can eat a Subway sub faster than you. Oh, no, I can't. No. So we ordered Subway subs and they were going to eat it. And I was like, this isn't funny. And I was like, I know how I'm going to make it funny and also make it poignant. And so I was like, you guys have to eat the sandwiches. And while you're eating, I put on the big screen TV in front of us, starving children in Africa with distended stomachs and flies all over them that had no food. And I was like, okay, now eat your sandwiches as fast as you can, as many of them as you can, while you watch these children in Africa. And you know, like afterwards, one of the guys was like, "You need to take that off the air. We can't have that up." Like, because he realized what an asshole he sounded like, and doing, and that's what we are as Americans. We have a 4th of July hot dog eating contest when a good portion of the world is starving to death, and Joey Chestnuts is, you know, wolfing down 62 hot dogs in 12 minutes. And
yeah, no, that is exactly that's, you know, that's a problem. Like, and I've lived in foreign countries, and there would never be a person in another country who would like, a turducken's an American thing. That is the most American thing in the world.
Yeah.
An eating contest is an American thing. You know, I mean, not that Americans always win our hot dog eating contest, but it's an American thing. And we've literally made a sport out of being as gluttonous as possible.
Yeah.
Right. We're the only country who would do that.
I think, like, when recessions or this pandemic hit, it's actually a good thing because it makes everybody start to think and start to, like, value what's right and what's wrong, and start to go, did I really need that? Do I really need that? I mean, my wife and I are different like that. Like, I'm a minimalist. She would say I'm not. She'd go, "You've got like 12 surfboards in the garage." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I need one for every condition," you know? But when it comes to, like, other things, I'm just like, we don't need that. We don't need that. Like, we don't need all these toys for the kids from China. Let them go play outside with sticks and rocks. Like, we don't need all this shit. And needing all this shit makes you have to work harder to pay for all this shit. And people are like, "Well, what's so wrong with working hard?" Well, if it's futile, then why are you working? Right. Like, I'm about efficiency. You should work as hard as you need to work. And you should leave time to have a balanced lifestyle. And Americans have worked so hard that we've made ourselves unhealthy, and everybody's, you know, we have the worst COVID situation in the world. And it's not because, you know, we're around each other or freedom. It's because we're unhealthy. We got a bunch of fat fucks that this is hurting because of that. But I mean, there are healthy people that it's hurting too. But I mean, we're gluttonous when it comes to alcohol. We're gluttonous when it comes to sugar, food, everything. And so
nicotine, like 90% of the drugs in the world are, like, consumed by us.
We are excessive people, which is a great segue to what I wanted to talk to you about, which is steroids. Because talk about something like, we as Americans, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions because I am so ignorant when it comes to steroids. I know very, very little. I am very suspect of many, many people, just because I think people generally will cheat when they can cheat, and if they can get away with it, it's just human nature. But I also think that I'm not very against it, because it's like, I'm into freedom. It's your choice. It's your life. But I don't know how much it is used in CrossFit or in CrossFit competitions. When I used to work out at a Globo gym, I knew tons of guys that did it. I ran track in college. I knew some guys that did it. I actually purchased some when I was like a freshman in college, because everyone was beating me. And I was like, "What's happening?" And they're like, "Oh, you know." And I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, yeah." And they're like, "It'll make you 0.3 of a second faster in your 100 meters. And I was like, "Really? Oh, okay." And then I was just too scared to do them. But
so here, let's throw down a definition first, right? Like, because I know there's some different subsets of people, right, in the CrossFit world. Like, you could talk about box owners, or just like the local fire breather that wins the throwdown, right? Or we could talk about games athletes. Like, what are you talking about when you say cheating? Is it,
I guess, using a banned substance.
So that means you compete in something or other that has it banned.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, a lot of the local throwdowns are kind of like, you know, there's no huge waiver that everything's banned. They're not, you know, WADA compliant. So, you know, it's just important to discuss that.
Right. So if it were up to me, I would do it like bodybuilding, where there's a natural division, and you know, you can use any substance you want. You know, it's some people eat more protein than some people. Some people take creatine. Some people take. There's all kinds of things that I think, and there's always, from what I understand, you know, new steroids that do this and do that, and some are anabolic, some change your hormone. That it's so kind of out there that it's one of those things that I think it's really hard to govern. And so I'm like, well, why don't you just give them the freedom to do it? And then if you want to be one of these, if you're one of these guys that like, I'm all natural, then go in the all natural division. And
so let me answer that question actually. So, and I think that's the intuitive response, right? I think that's, just have a natural division, have an open division. Here's the problem. If you look at something like baseball, right, and you look at just the economics, right, steroids create financial incentive because steroids create money in and of themselves. The home run race between McGwire and Sosa, right? 1998, the top paid player in baseball was Albert Bell. Okay, he was making $10 million a year. Now you have the home run race. You have guys smashing four baggers, right? Within 3 years, A-Rod was making $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 3, maybe 4. But A-Rod's making $20 million. And fans came back to the game.
Sure.
People were interested again. So the steroids created the money. The players took the money, took the steroids, took more steroids, got more money. But then when the Mitchell report came out, fans felt, dejected, like they'd been lied to, like, oh, this wasn't what I thought it was. And numbers fell off again. So the answer to your question is, yeah, let people use them. But if you say they're using them, you're not going to create the same financial incentive. And you can look at bodybuilding. There's no money in bodybuilding. Bodybuilding's like the top guy, makes less than maybe like the 101st guy in any major sport. So
what you're saying is, yeah, as people, we like to be lied to. We want to be lied to. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody thought Mark McGwire looked like Bill Romanowski at 35 because he just started training harder. But we want that fig leaf, or the fans do anyway.
All right, I got to stop talking about steroids for a minute and talk about something that we know is healthy, and that is Eat the 80, because I'm really all about health. And but I also have these things called taste buds. So I'm on the constant mission to find good tasting healthy food. And I've landed in a place that I will never leave, and it's called Eat the 80. Eat the 80, 80. And it is probably the best, healthiest, easiest food in the world. I wish I could tell you all the ones I ate this week. I ate a beef stew. I ate some kind of eggs and sausage that was really spicy. I was surprised. This one I always get my favorite, the chicken dumplings. There's 30 different dishes on the menu at a time, so you can always get something. And the taste is unbelievable, but the ingredients are so minimal that you will never feel like you're being bad ever. List the calories on it. Some of them are up to like 500 and something, 600, 650. Some of them are a little lower, so depending on how many calories you're going for. But all your macros, you can get it in keto, vegan, macro balanced, everything. Only takes 3 minutes in the microwave to cook too, which is great. And all their animal protein is ethically sourced, and it's grass-fed beef. You're gonna like always good. It's 100% gluten-free. I don't know how they do it with the dumplings, but they're incredible. And I know this. I've talked to them. I love what they do. I know how serious they are about COVID, so their kitchen is like super, super clean. You don't have to worry about anything like that. They vacuum seal it for the freshness, and they do something. There's always new stuff on the menu. Here's another thing that I need to tell you about Eat the 80. If you want add-ons, which I always do, they've got them. Like they've got potato salad, extra grilled chicken. Like say you want to throw extra protein on because your macros say, oh, I need to eat this many. Just get the extra grilled chicken. They've got gluten-free brownies. You're looking for carbs, boom, potato salad, whatever. It's there. You can just cater this to what you need, and it's super, super healthy. I mean, it's like the ingredients are like meat and vegetables and then like olive oil and salt, but I will guarantee you cannot cook as well as this. It's just so easy. In the microwave, 3 minutes, boom, out, and it's delicious. And they take care of trainers. If you're a trainer, gym owner, and you've got your clients eating this, just refer your client, and they're going to give you 10% reward back towards food for you. And that's at info@eatthee80.com. Make sure you try that. Now, if you just want to order this, and apparently our listeners are ordering it because they keep putting ads on here, so it's successful. Do me a favor. You guys that are eating this, please tell me what you're eating. Tell me why you eat it, why you love it, so that I can talk about it on the show, because you obviously are. They love this show, and people are buying it. I just want to know who you are. I just like to talk to you about it because I love it. Go to eatthee80.com. You want to get $45 off your first order. That's $45 off your first order. That's 25% off your first order. Go to eatthee80.com. Use the code DEC25. That's Christmas. DEC25. All caps. DEC25. Eatthee80.com. DEC25. And then message me after you eat it, please. Well, I look at and I don't want to like say sources or anything, but Carl Lewis, when he ran the 100-meter dash against Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson won, I had heard from a good source that everybody in that heat was doped, and it was
that's called the dirtiest race in history, as a matter of fact. And if you look, I think it was like 8 out of 10 people in that race. Later, they found out we're doing something. Carl Lewis failed 3 different tests.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew, and he was very vocal about Ben Johnson, which that always bothers me. I mean, in my business, in comedy, they call people out for, in cancel culture for like sexual abuse or something, or harassment of a woman, or, whatever it might be, like these comedians that are womanizing, and they call them out. And I see a lot of times guys that are like Glass House, the same shit, calling them out. And I'm like, what are you doing? I've hung out with you. I've seen you be a piece of shit. And why are you pointing the finger when you're just as guilty? So when Carl Lewis did that, I'm like, you hypocrite. And that's my source. It was the person I know was in that Olympics, competed in that Olympics, and said that and actually got a gold medal in that Olympics, and said that Carl Lewis was doping too, and that they all were, and that the WADA or whoever it was like, we need to do something about this. So let's just go after number 1, because if we go after number 8, they won't stop. If we go after number 1, maybe it'll scare them all. So they got Ben, and I've listened to Victor Conti talk all about it, but my point is, like, do we want to see, like, I kind of want to see them run 9 seconds, 8 seconds.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I. I mean, I think you see it the most in something like powerlifting. Yeah. Where nobody wants to see a 500-pound bench press. You know, like, nobody cares. And that's a tremendous amount of weight, right? That's what I squat, right? Right. So, I mean, but nobody wants to see it. Once I guess Anthony Clark or whoever it was broke 1,000, people wanted to see more. And that's it goes back to us being sort of gluttonous in this country, right? We want to see more. We want to see 100 home runs.
But here's the thing. Right? It's not hurting us for them to do it. We're not doing it. And I see the argument. They go, but then kids are going to want to do it. Well, right. People do heroin. You tell your kids not to do heroin. You can say to your kids, hey, you shouldn't do this thing. Or if that's the road you want to go, this is the way you do it, or blah, blah, blah. They're going to do it no matter what. If they like, I don't think if they see, like, everybody knows, kids know today that you go to pro football, you can make millions and millions and millions of dollars being a pro football player, right? Oh my God, it's amazing. And you're a star, and but you also know you might have a really short lifespan. You're going to have a really tough, your older years are going to be tough because of the CTE. You're going to, lots of pain. And so kids are a lot more calculated now, and they're choosing other sports. They're going, like, I know from friends of mine that coach high school football, like it's tough to field a team because kids are smart enough to know. So I'm like, if you want to do steroids, go ahead. If you're going to reach this optimum level, I want to see a CrossFitter do a 1 minute Fran. If you can do that, that's great. But I also want to know that there's a reason you can do it and I can't do it in 5 minutes. You know, like I want to know that you have an extra advantage, that you decided to go that route. So I would like to know. I would love it. And I would watch the steroid division, and I would probably watch the natural division, just as I watch the young divisions, and then I watch the masters. Not as many people watch the masters, but I find it awesome that people of these ages can do shit. Meanwhile, I think those are probably the ones that are doped up the most.
Oh, there was I might have the name wrong, but I want to say Susan Wallace, who ran Kona, who ran the Ironman, and competed, and I think won her division, like a master's division, in the CrossFit Games in the same year. Like, it would take me a year to run an Ironman. like that 2 mile swim, I would still be doing it. Like, so it's just, no, it's phenomenal. I mean, but if you look at, right, so it depends on the sport. If you look at powerlifting, people do watch the drug-free division. They do watch the raw division. But if you look at bodybuilding, like, nobody gives a shit about natural bodybuilding. I mean, there's as many people on stage as there are in the crowd.
I don't know. I think I'd be interested to see the potential of human, like what can you do? And, you know, I'm so torn on this with CrossFit, where I see these guys and they're just like remarkable at what they can do, their recovery time, they're this, they're that, they're everything. And then it's hard not to be suspicious because you see a guy like Ricky Gerard get popped, or a lot of the girls get popped. I mean, Ricky Gerard was second in the world, I believe. And then you go, oh, so how does that not make you suspicious? But then I get to know these guys, you know, like personally, like Rich Froning, who seems like the nicest guy in the world and just seems so honest and so forthright that he could. And then guys that I'm really close friends with that have been games athletes that I hang out with on a regular basis. And I'm like, I've never heard them talk about it, never seen them do it. They've denied it constantly. And it's like, there's always that lingering, yeah, well, Ricky Gerard did it. So maybe to get to that level. And I'd love to talk to Ricky about it. He won't come on the show. I've asked him 1,000 times to come on. And I think his ban is up next year, so he doesn't want to talk about it at all. But
yeah, that's a weird thing, man. That's a weird thing. You know, with, like, I don't necessarily want to go down this rabbit hole, but you definitely, if you're competing in the sport of CrossFit, I don't think you necessarily want to get too mouthy while you're still competing and potentially have, you know, HQ annoyed with you, you know?
Right. So what you're saying is you think that HQ might be aware of this? See, I find that hard to believe because they do pop people. And I don't think they pop. What I think happens is that they go, here's our testing regimen. If you can find a way around it, good for you, but we will catch you if you don't find your way around it. And I think it's, from what I've read, it's pretty easy to get around it. And so, you know, you obviously don't want them like breathing down your neck. And you don't want to be a problem for them because then they are going to come after you. But I think, you know, I don't know. You tell me more. I mean, if you know.
Yeah, no, you can. So look, any test, you know, can be beat, right? There's kind of two, to me, right? There's two types of people. There's the people that say, all right, this is the test I have to take. And there's people who say, this is the test I have to beat, right? There's no in between. And if you keep up with sort of doping science, or you're in a circle that keeps up with it, for example, you tell me if you heard of Xenon Gas for doping?
No.
Okay, so it's like the stuff that's in the, like, that, you know, headlights or whatever, the fancy headlights. Russian athletes were inhaling it, and it turns out that this increases erythropoietin, right? EPO, increases red blood cells, increases your endurance. It wasn't banned, and they were very open about it. They were like, "Yeah, I'm inhaling this gas, and it boosts my red blood cells." And, you know, then obviously the test had to be created, blah blah blah. But what if you slipped in before WADA banned it, and, you know, you're kind of on the cusp of this doping-ish, right? Because it's not specifically banned yet. What if you're just on that cutting edge? You know, are you cheating, or are you just sort of
ahead of the game?
You know, yeah, just ahead of it.
Well, that's what Victor Conti claimed. You know, he said he would find these banned substances, and then he would just make something that was like a molecule different, and it would then fall under the radar of the test. And he was like, look, it's not a banned substance. So these guys, McGuire and all these guys, would take it because it wasn't banned. And then the testing people would figure it out. They would ban it, so they would move on to a new one. And it was just like, you know, you're just beating the system, which that's why I'm like, you're never going to win this game testing. You're never going to win. So it's like the drug war.
That's exactly right, because someone has to. Right, the scientists aren't saying, let's put ourselves in the place of someone who's doping and try and figure out what's the new thing. They're saying, what are people using that we now need to figure out a test for? So they're always going to be one step behind because it's their mentality. I spoke to one of the, I guess people, I don't want to drop his name, but people will know if they know. They would say the godfather of doping control, the guy who basically invented the anti-doping program in America. And he said, my job is to catch some of the people who are doping some of the time.
Wow.
So he's basically saying, look, we're not trying to create a clean sport. We're trying to create plausible deniability and a watchable sport.
Wow.
And that is from the guy, the top guy.
It's very similar to the response a friend of mine that's a DE agent gave me. I said, so I just fuck with him. One day I called him years ago and I go, so you guys winning this drug war? And he goes, Eddie, this is the way we look at it. He goes, you got to take your garbage out every day, right? I go, yeah. He goes, or it builds up, right, in your house? He goes, that's what we do with drugs. He's like, we got to get some of them off the street because we have to maintain it because there's just too many. And he's like, and if we just let it go, it would just be crazy and a free-for-all. So we have to maintain it. And I was like, I don't know. Because I like the Portugal idea of where, you legalize all drugs and then you put all the money into rehabilitation because no one really wants to be a drug addict. And, if you give people the opportunity to clean up, they will clean up. So take the money you're going to spend on incarceration and put it towards rehabilitation. But
well, as far as addiction goes, that's something that we're addicted to, is throwing people in jail, right?
Yeah.
Prison industrial complex. We have more people in jail than any first world nation.
I know, it's insane. It's insane. Like the Soviet Union doesn't have. I mean, Russia doesn't have anywhere near the amount of people we have in jail. And we talk about Russia like, oh, Russia, this big bad, and they don't. Not even close.
No, I mean, really, that's something. And again, it's just something that we do, and we do to excess. And the whole sort of most of it's drugs.
Yeah.
And that, obviously that started with Nixon, right? That started in 1969, when he declared the war on drugs. And then, speaking of Russia, bizarrely created a position called the drug czar, which is super weird to call someone in America a czar of anything.
Yeah.
And really the problem was this: people who smoke pot weren't voting for Nixon. So, I mean, really, honestly, that is what the problem was, right? Because if he was getting 90% of the pothead vote, he would not have been trying to throw them in jail and disenfranchise them.
So I want to ask you a question that's completely changing the subject. How did you get involved in this whole steroid world?
So, so this is kind of weird. I have a degree in English and a degree in philosophy, and I had, been using them as an athlete.
When you say athlete, were you like powerlifting, or what were you doing? Like what sport?
No. I used to live in New Zealand, where I played rugby.
Oh, cool.
And I played rugby here in the U.S. I played in the National All-Star Games and stuff like that. So, so I've been using them, and sort of you do your own research sort of thing. And then there was a website that needed some writing done on the topic.
Were you just like, so when you got into it and using them, were you just like ask a guy in the gym or another teammate, or were you like read some stuff? Or I mean,
no, the internet was invented back then.
Yeah,
it was. I'm not that old. Like,
see, I am. When I went down the hole, it was like literally I asked some guy who had taken them in high school, and I was like, "Hey, what do I need?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll get them for you," and he just hands me this bottle of pills, and I was going to take Anavar in a pill version, and luckily I never took them, but it was just such a down and dirty. And a lot of the guys from my gym are like, they're probably not even real. You're getting these things from China, and you're going to get you'll think you're getting bigger. It'll be but I wasn't about getting bigger. I just needed to get stronger and leaner. And, and they were like, oh yeah, you'll get a placebo effect. They're fake. And I was like, why am I even going to like risk this if it's, if it's not completely scientific, if it's not coming from a doctor and it's not being prescribed.
But if you got the 0.3 of a second off of your 100-meter time,
wouldn't matter.
It was placebo, would you give a shit?
Nope, not at all.
That's such a weird thing that comes up all the time. I always ask that question because if you add 25 pounds to your bench from placebo, does it matter? Like, anyway, that's all I could really do with my philosophy degree is ask questions like that. But no, so this website was offering money to write about steroids because they needed like an informational section. So like a ton of people signed up, and like nobody could string together a coherent sentence in everyday speech, much less on paper. So I ended up writing like 400 pages, and that involved so much research that I just sort of default became an expert in the topic.
Right. And so when you started, what kind of steroids were you taking?
So my first cycle was Dianabol, which is, I'm going to be super nerdy now. It's methandrostenolone, which is it's got an additional carbon bond on testosterone. It's in pill form, so it's methylated, and it basically that additional. It is actually made for athletes, right? It was after the Russians beat us in the late 40s in the Olympics. Dr. John Ziegler, who was the physician for the American Olympic weightlifting team, developed Dianabol in conjunction with SIBA. So it's actually made for athletes, right? Everyone who sort of says, "Oh, well, you're taking it for this reason, it was never intended," that's not true. Mm-hmm. It's exactly why it was invented. So I took that, and then sort of that
was the one I heard of most often, and that was, people would say D-ball. That's the one you want. That'll bulk you up. Is that true, or is it just going to build muscle? What's the?
Yeah, it's really interesting because although it's got that additional 4-5 carbon bond, the methylation, just something about processing it through the liver makes it, you gain a ton of water, and you do gain a lot of weight. The interesting thing about that is that equipoise, right, which is boldenone and declinate, is the same.
Is that the same as stanozolol, equipoise?
Stanozolol is Winstrol.
Yeah, is that the one Ben Johnson took?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, all right, let me qualify that. He says he took a different drug called Farazabol, which is also a dihydro testosterone derivative that also has this sort of unique alteration on the A ring of the nucleus. I think maybe the test just showed that he took something he didn't. I think he took the thing he says he took.
Yeah.
Why would you lie?
Yeah, exactly.
Like his coach said, no, he was taking this other drug. And if you look at the molecular structure, they do look the same. They have a really unique modification. They're both based on dihydrotestosterone. And again, that's a stupid lie. Like that.
So explain the dihydrotestosterone, because all I know of that, I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to biology and chemistry and all this stuff. All I remember of dihydrotestosterone testosterone is that's the thing that makes you lose your hair. Is that correct?
Well, the thing that makes you lose your hair is if you have that particular genetics on the double Y chromosome, right? It's from your mother's father.
Okay.
It could increase hair loss, but generally, if your mother's father is bald, you're going to be bald, whether you take, dihydro testosterone based steroids or not.
Right.
But yeah, the interesting thing about taking D-bol versus equipoise, it's the same molecule. One is made for oral ingestion, one is made for injectable, and they act totally differently.
Is it more dangerous to take a pill form, because it doesn't have to go like through your liver twice, like through your stomach and into your liver? I've always heard that the pill form, it's safer to do an injectable.
Yeah, so that's called first pass metabolism, where it goes through your liver. There's some benefits to passing something through your liver. Like if you take the same steroid and inject it versus passing it through your liver, there's like your liver will convert it to different not different growth factors, but additional conversion to, say, IGF, right, which a lot of it comes from the liver. But yeah, it's generally going to be more dangerous. I mean, you don't get that liver toxicity from an injectable.
Okay. So when you took D-bol, did you feel like it made a huge difference?
Yeah. I went from I think I gained 28 pounds.
Wow.
In 6 weeks.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard, I don't know how off this is or how correct this is, but I heard you can gain like 10 to 12 pounds of muscle a year naturally, and it's almost double that with, taking some kind of steroid, some anabolic.
I don't, what you can gain naturally, I would say this, you're probably going to gain what you can gain naturally in like the first 5 to 10 years of your lifting. I mean, that's kind of where you top out. I mean, you don't really see someone who's been lifting from, let's say, 14 to 24 gain another solid 12 pounds per year after that. It's like a couple pounds a year if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. I know this pain for the last 30 years. This little guy.
Well, think about it, right? Because then you'd be 50, you'd be 400 pounds of muscle.
True.
Right?
True. I just,
so your body doesn't want that.
I find it really weird that my body has just said to me, nope, no more. This is all you getting.
Well, I mean, that's right. That's our body. Once again, we're American, we're gluttons. I am that's your body saying, no, this is not biologically sound. Like in an evolutionary sense, carrying 250 pounds of muscle and having to feed that is not evolutionarily sound. It's not a good idea.
Right.
For our species now, it's still not a good idea, even though we have food everywhere. When we walk out of our house, there's people throwing food at us. There is food everywhere. It's still a terrible idea.
It's funny you say that we're not evolutionary sound to do that. I was talking to one of the top United States Olympic lifters, and he was talking about how hard it is to qualify in the Olympics for as an American Olympic weightlifter, because the standards are so high, because the Russians and the Russians and the Chinese and everything, and what they can do. And I said, well, why can't you? And he goes, because we're tested a lot more. Our testing is a lot more stringent than theirs. And I said, but doesn't it bother you that you're not going to get an Olympic medal? You're as awesome as you are, and you're not going to get an Olympic medal? Because he goes, no, it doesn't bother me, because when I'm older, my joints aren't going to be fucked up. He's like, I'm not going to be so big and lifting so much weight that my body wasn't built for. And so I get that point.
I think it was Socrates who said, pain heals, chicks dig scars, and glory lasts forever. I'm pretty sure that was him. So about China, I'll give you an idea how robust their doping program is. And it is a state-run doping program. Make no mistake about it. It is similar. I mean, it's not similar in scope to the East Germans, but it's similar in scope to any nation state that wants to dope. They actually disappeared an entire class, an entire, let's say, 3 years worth of their swimmers. Literally disappeared. dropped out of the Olympic sort of testing pool, and then reemerged out of nowhere as world beaters. They took them, they had them only race against other, intrastate Chinese events, completely dropped them off the map, and then brought them back. And they were doping and doing whatever for years. And you just can't overcome that.
Yeah.
You can't overcome someone who is, and China's huge. So they have the ability to have those competitions. You can't beat that. There's just no way to beat it.
Well, it's Lance said that. I heard Lance Armstrong say, I was the best on steroids or on PEDs. I would have been the best off them. He's like, I beat everybody else who was on PEDs. He's like, if you took us all and made us all clean, he's like, I would have won. But I was just...
Well, that's the saying, right? The old saying is steroids don't create champions. They allow them to compete on equal footing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some truth to that, but at the same time, there are people who just react better. They just react better to steroids. There's people that you would think don't have an athletic bone in their body, and they can't compete at all against local neighborhood kids in touch football. And you throw them on and they just react and they excel. So it could be true. It could be that he was an extreme case of someone who just gets more out of them.
Yeah.
But certainly he was great on them.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's frustrating because you go, like, we had, there were some kids in my high school football team who, just were huge. They were massive. They were men. We were boys. And we looked at them like they were just genetically blessed, only to find out years later that they all juiced all through high school. And it's like, that wasn't fair. It was like the cheating gets upsetting. And that's where, like, coming back to CrossFit, you watch these games athletes, and it's so phenomenal what they can do and the progression from where CrossFit started to where they've gotten. And, look, I've gotten old, so I can understand why I'm not progressing and why it gets harder and harder every year. But I see these other guys doing shit that I could have never dreamed of. And it's like, was I not genetically blessed? Did I not work hard enough? Did I not? And I'm using me as an example of the average person out there looking at this going, do I not work hard enough? Do I not? And then they sometimes go, well, I saw this guy do this. I gotta work out 2-3 times a day to I don't know why this person can be so much better than me. And there is the possibility that either that guy's doing them or he's not. But if he is, he's making other people do shit that they shouldn't be doing, meaning like work too hard or strive for things that are unattainable. And so it's frustrating. And it's got to be frustrating. Like, I don't know. I have no idea which CrossFit athletes use them and don't. I have no idea. And I don't want to speculate. But it's got to be frustrating for the ones that don't, to go into it every day wondering, is this guy that's beating me, is this why he's beating me? Is this why I can't beat this guy?
It's tough to pin down, right, with CrossFit, because CrossFit created this kind of, I mean, you look at all the people who are, they work at a box, or they're sponsored, or they own a box, right? Or they own 5 boxes, right? Khalifa owns like 10 or something or whatever. CrossFit created this weird breed of athlete who can train 10 times a day, and they're at the gym anyway. There's never been that sort of ability to be, in effect, I mean, talking about years ago, if you're the 100th place athlete, right, that's not your main job, right? There was never really 100th best person in the world in any sport who that was still their job, right? In terms of an individual sport like this, like the 100th best sprinter in America is probably you, right? I don't even know. It's not someone that you would know, right? You only know the top 10. You only know the top guys at the Penn relays, right? Sure. So CrossFit created this kind of new breed of person who could work out 5 or 10 times a day. And it's impossible to gauge them against any type of athlete that's come before, because we never really had people doing these weird, like stupid human tricks and like, you know, handstands and like disparate, like weird stuff. Like we don't really know what the top Olympic lifter in the whatever, you know, middle sort of weight areas, we don't know if he could, you know, run 5K and then still do some reasonable weight. Like it's just never, like, nobody's giving a shit
because it's a new sport. And that's a good point you make, because they do work out all day long, but they're actually really smart about it. You know, like they'll do this kind of workout at this time. It's kind of like triathletes, you know, the amount of time they spend in there, where a bodybuilder is looking to get big. So they actually have to rest a lot. Like where a CrossFitter is going, I need to be ready at all times to do anything and everything. So sure, I need to rest so I can recover, but that doesn't mean I can't do squats this morning and do a whole bunch of pull-ups later in the day, and, you know, and then go for a run, you know, like do this and then do that and work on my cardio on the, you know, the ski erg, you know, so they're able to be really well-rounded. And part of me just believes it's adaptation too, that they just, it's all these obsessive workoutaholics, and that they just were able to just, their bodies will be able to, because remember when it used to be a big deal to run a marathon, then somebody did an Ironman, then people started doing 100-mile races. Now people do 200-mile races. And now there's so many like ultras out there that they'll be like, oh yeah, it was 6 days. They ran for 200 miles a day. And you're like, what? Who can do this? And I think the body just has this incredible ability to adapt to whatever is happening. And it's hard for people that are your everyday Joe that go to the gym for an hour a day that go, wait a minute, why is this guy able to, you know, squat clean, you know, 350 pounds and also run a 5-minute mile? Like, why can't I do that? And it's like, well, because you have a job. You know, you don't work out 7 times a day. And maybe that's it, but it's also the point I was trying to make again, is like, say you're number 2 in the world. And again, I'm not speculating on anyone or inferring anyone. And you can't beat number 1. Like, you just can't beat this guy. And you're clean. In the back of your head, you're going, what's he doing? What's he doing? Why can't I? Because I work hard.
Or is that margin thin enough that if I just do something that's undetectable, like, you know, is the margin thin enough that couple percentage points you might get from inhaling Xenon, or, you know, a little bit of testosterone that's not detectable, or, you know, some kind of peptide there's no test for, is that going to be enough to push me over the edge?
Well, I've had them all on the show, and off air, off the record, I've had a lot of them say they're suspicious of a lot of other guys. And so when somebody is suspect of someone else, I'm like, well, that means you're not doing them. If you're like being accusatory of someone else, because if you were doing it also, you wouldn't be accusing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair, because you don't think, that wouldn't be a concern if you say, well, I think he's doing something because I know I'm doing something's kind of a stupid, like, train of thought. You know?
Sure. I'm thinking that you're not going to accuse somebody of cheating if you're cheating.
Right.
So,
well, let's go back to Carl Lewis, though.
Right. That's a good point. I just, I don't know. I wish I was inside a little more, where I saw, like, where I would just wish there was an obvious way. That's I can't say it any more than that, because this has constantly been like on any message board, you know,
any subreddit.
Yeah, any subreddit, and I feel bad for a lot of these guys, because I think some of them are clean, and I think then they have to go through life being accused all the time. And
so here's the thing. Here's the way we'll know, right? We won't know now. But if you look at something like the shot put, and you look at the time where it was just the Wild West, and then you look at the time where there were doping controls and they started testing. You look at the throws from like the early 60s right through to the late 60s, all of a sudden there's a huge dip in world records.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll know at some point, right, where some kind of testing regimen comes in. If we see a huge, I mean, that it's kind of difficult with CrossFit, but let's use the Fran as a benchmark, right? If we see a huge dip in something where all of a sudden nobody can beat this time from 5 years ago, and everybody was climbing that ladder before, then we'll know. I mean, they did it with ultras where not ultras, regular marathons and middle to long distance running. When they developed a test for EPO, all of a sudden world records stopped getting smashed. So we can infer, right? We can sort of do this like backwards looking, but we can't do it now. We have to kind of wait.
We'll reverse engineer it later when
right.
I think that happened in the 100-meter dash with Usain Bolt also. I agree. I think it was Conti that said it, that he said if you look at his times, he's never run that 9.6 since he hasn't run faster than 9.9 since the new testing regimen. And it's
a lot of Jamaicans got busted for a lot of different stuff while he was there.
I think they all got busted. I don't think
except him.
Yeah. And so, the argument to him was that he could run the 100-meter dash in 41 steps where it took everyone else 45 to 50 steps, and he just had a longer stride length. But it's like, well, because of that longer stride length, wouldn't his speed slow down? And they're like, well, maybe that's it, that he has the speed. And I'm like, well, maybe he has the speed because he's using a performance-enhancing drug. Well, because if you look at his 60-meter times, they're not that impressive. His time in the 100 is impressive. He has he's not fast out of the gate. So where is that speed? Like, what it is when from the 60 meters on, you're actually declining. You reach your top speed at 60 meters, and then if all 8 guys or 10 guys reach the 60-meter mark at the same time, it's not the one that gets faster wins. It's the one that slows the least wins from there on in. So obviously Usain Bolt, that's where he's really strong, is from that 60 to 100 part, 60 meters to 100 part. So it's like, where did this amazing strength come from? Who knows?
Yeah, it's an anomaly. And what does he say every time they bring that up, right? He says, well, they don't give out medals at the 60-yard mark, right?
Yeah.
60-meter mark, right? That old gag.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, right, like, they have something called non-analytic positives, and it's basically like, we found a syringe in your trash with your blood on it. We didn't find it in you, but whatever. And then there's this sort of just logic, right? I mean, you look at like all these dudes in Jamaica are getting busted, or to go back to your Tour de France, analogy, the year France won the World Cup in football, or as we call it, soccer, the year France won was the year like 80 of them got busted for doping, right, in the Tour de France. So you have them absolutely destroying the world in the World Cup, right? And also a ton of athletes the same year in the same country getting busted for PEDs. Now, I'm not huge on either sport. Physiques are kind of similar, right? Endurance requirements kind of similar.
Yeah.
Got to have the strength. They're all, in the same circle, trainers, gyms. I like to look at clusters like that and say, well, not to take anything away from France coming out of nowhere and winning their first World Cup ever at home, in the same year that literally like dozens of them got busted, I tend to think something was going on.
Yeah, it's hard not to be suspicious. One of the other problems I have is with, and like I could be wrong because I'm not a physiologist or any of these things, but my belief, my understanding is that when you build muscle, when you first start lifting weights and you build muscle, you develop what's not really muscle memory, but a neurological pathway, kind of, that your nerves then know, okay, this is how I will allow the muscle to build. So you you build those muscles that then when you stop working out for a while and you come back to working out, it's easy for your muscles to get there again because your muscles know that they have that, what people call muscle memory. Well, let's take someone who used steroids earlier in life that got to a potential that they couldn't have gotten naturally. They get to that potential, then they don't work out for a few years or they don't use steroids for years. Then they jump into a sport like CrossFit, let's say. Well, now all of a sudden, does their muscle mass have the potential to get where it got with steroids because of the adaptation that was made early on? Okay, so we know for sure that there are athletes that are competing that have been banned before or have admitted to prior in life. Dan Nitro, I forget his name.
Clark.
He was the American Gladiator.
Dan Nitro Clark.
Yeah,
the American Gladiator.
Wrote a whole book about how he used steroids and everything. Well, he went on to compete in the Masters. So sure, you're passing drug tests and you're natural, and I'm not criticizing him at all, but I'm saying, doesn't your body have an adaptation now that is more than the guy that's been natural? So it's,
I mean, that's proven. That's scientifically, they've studied that. Guys who have stopped using carry more muscle than guys who are lifetime naturals, even if they've been off for 5 years.
So in any sport, you can take your time. There are people that are off the radar in CrossFit that just aren't in the testing protocol. They can go use all they want, stop, then declare themselves into the CrossFit arena of competitive arena, start getting tested, but they've quit, and I don't know how long you have to have it out of your system. I don't know those exact things. I mean, you might know better than me how long you have to stop.
It's drug dependent. We've seen it in baseball. We've seen people quote unquote retire and then come back and be, more competitive than they were. We've definitely seen that.
Yeah.
And they're out of the testing pool, like you said. I think you have to re-enter, though, like the testing pool a certain amount of time before you compete again.
But I mean, you're not gonna let's use an athlete. They are nowhere in the CrossFit world. Just some really good athlete. They start working out constantly at home. They juice for 2 years straight. They stop for 6 months. They go to their first CrossFit competition. They've got enough time that they won't test positive. Even though they took 6 months off, they made 2 years of gains with a performance. That's going to help them tremendously. Yeah. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And if you look at something like, EPO, right? Erythropoietin, that like mature EPO cells, they live for not for days, they live for months. So, I mean, there's things that, if you look at something like an IGF or an MGF, right? Those are kind of they're peptides.
IGF is insulin growth factor.
Yes.
And then what's MGF? What's MGF?
Mechanogrowth factor. That's the growth factor that's produced by mechanical action in your muscle.
Okay.
So if you look at those, I mean, the testing protocol for those is basically you have to inject it and then immediately be tested for them to ever detect it. It's completely, even growth hormone, there's really not a great, protocol for that. And every test is beatable. So, your scenario where the guy goes off, that's one thing. Or the guy does 2 years of, heavy juicing and then goes on all undetectable stuff and loses nothing. Right. So that's possible too.
So what we're saying is it's really futile to test for these sports.
Well, what's the old saying, right? It's an IQ test. I mean, you're not going to catch all the dopers. You're going to catch all the stupid people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you wrote an article, I forget how many years ago it would be, the one that got CrossFit really pissed off.
Yeah.
Was that the one saying it was the body fat ratio one? Was that you that wrote that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying that, could you explain that, please? You had to,
right.
Did you have to take that down, by the way?
No, I just got bored. I mean, I just stopped with the website. I mean, that actually, what's funny, no, they were actually pretty cool about it. Like, whether they were pissed or not, they were like, come on our show, whatever. So basically, here's the deal. If you look at so athletes up until the point where we know people were using steroids, right? So you look at athletes up through, like, say 1950 or whatever, and you look at the maximum amount of fat-free mass, by height, you could get a number. So we know that we know for sure they didn't use anything. And we know for sure that this is the highest humans have gotten in terms of, that metric, before it was possible for them to take steroids. So there's no concern with doping. So if you set that as a ceiling, okay, and say, well, this is where they got 50 years ago. Humans haven't evolved much in 50 years. And you take that number. And what I did was I took that number, the highest humans had ever gotten pre-steroid era, and I compared it to the top 10 height and weight, the top 10 CrossFit athletes in the world at that time. And I want to say 8 out of 10 of them were over that number. Some pretty significantly. Some were like 0.2 over the number. Right.
And what's the number of their body mass to their body fat ratio? What was it?
Yeah, it's similar to that. It was their I want to say it was like their fat-free mass index. Okay. Was the number. And so it was, fat-free mass to height, basically.
Sure. Okay.
So it gives you a number, right? It spits out a number.
And I remember, I think in your article, basically it came out that Ben Smith was the only guy not using performance-enhancing drugs by your equation.
Yeah, and what's funny is one of the dudes who denied it actually, I think, later did get caught. I forget who it was, but yeah, Ben Smith. That Ben Smith and yeah, it does ring a bell. And the only reason I remember his name is because of the Ben Smith's dad.
Oh yeah,
Twitter account.
Oh, that was funny, that one.
How ancient am I that I remember?
No, I was just talking to Dave Castro all about those, about drywall, Ben Smith's dad. Like those guys used to amuse me so much because I loved how upset everybody got by them.
Yeah, they were great.
No, but here's my argument to your article. Let's say 1950s, they didn't have all the science that we have now on diet, on people now. I mean, like I just think about what we knew when I was a kid to what we know now, and how much you can alter your physique, your strength, everything, your composition by what you eat. So couldn't that play a huge part in that number?
No, that is the argument. That's exactly the counter argument. Is like, there's no creatine, there's no whey protein, there's no, right. The science is different. Yeah, that is the argument, right? And so I would say that's valid for, let's say, the guys that were a couple points over. I think one dude was like a good 20+% over, like minimum. That probably wouldn't apply to him. To the others, mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think it puts you in the realm of, not even plausible deniability. I think it puts you in the realm of this. My article raises a question, and that's a good answer. And that's it. It kind of leaves you, questioning, which is kind of the point of it, right? Like, I want people to ask that question.
Yeah. I think, because they've gotten to the point now where you don't hear much about it. I mean, I think there's a good portion of like the CrossFit community that just goes, hey, if they use or they don't use, I don't give a shit. And then there's a whole bunch, and it's like politics. People are split down the line. And I think on the other side, there are the people like, no, that's bullshit. You're cheating. You can't cheat, And I think there's a lot because Ricky Gerard is coming back, and Ricky is going to be competing again. And people are like, well, wait a minute. This guy used before. And I don't know what their testing protocol is. I don't know if he gets tested now. Like, I don't know if you get caught, if you then continue to get tested after you've been popped. But let's say, I think he had a 4-year ban. Well, why couldn't he then go off and work out for 3 years and just juice up to the tilt, and be like, I'm fucking ready to go and be 10,000 times stronger and everything because he has this, and come back into the sport and be clean.
So I don't know. I mean, when I wrote the article, I looked at CrossFit's actual testing company, and they were terrible. Like, they were, by any measure, they were terrible. The New York Times had written an article about this particular testing company saying they were terrible, like just inefficient. And, the way they conducted themselves left a lot of holes in their protocol. So that was part of the article. Now, I don't know what CrossFit's exact position is. Like, oh, well, if you're going to come back, we get to test you every day.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't either. I think they changed, if I'm correct. I think they did change testing companies. But in the beginning, I was always like, if I'm CrossFit and I'm starting a sport, the last thing I want to do is bust any of my athletes. So I'm going to look the other way on everything, because I don't need people to, talk shit on my business. So I'm just going to go, oh yeah, we tested everybody. They're all negative.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I don't think the first games were tested, right? The one like at the ranch or whatever. I mean, that was kind of like just, kind of an insider's sort of throwdown almost, it was the CrossFit games, but it kind of wasn't StubHub or whatever.
No.
I think once they started testing, they really didn't go to great lengths to get the best and the brightest kind of anti-doping people. They just went with like a, MIC testing company that wasn't very good. Now I think maybe they have the talent pool to not care who they bust. But again, I think their job is to catch some of the people some of the time.
So
I would
if you were going to be a competitive CrossFit athlete, what would you do? What PEDs would you take?
Sure. So, I mean, low dose of testosterone is not going to be detectable. I know for me personally, if I take 100 mgs every other day of testosterone propionate, my testosterone to epitestosterone ratio doesn't get out of whack.
And that's what gets you busted, when that's out of whack.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's one of the indicators. So here, this is
you're allowed to keep it at a certain level, though, correct? Like,
we'll do a guest appearance. This is right here. That's testosterone.
Okay.
Someone must have put this in my hotel room and taken it. It's empty. It's bizarre. So I just know for a fact I won't go over 1,000 nanograms per deciliter, which is where you're out of range, and I won't get out of range on epitestosterone. That actually happened to be, I think, enanthate, cypionate.
Why won't you go out of range?
Well, I mean, everyone's going to be different, right? It's not a perfectly linear dose response curve. If you're at 500 for your testosterone, you take 200 milligrams, you don't go to 700.
Right.
You go to like 1,300 or something. So it's not completely linear, and people just sort of have to figure it out for themselves. I'm fairly circumspect. I get blood work, and I just happen to know that. So I know I could take that. I could take 100 milligrams of propionate every other day, or at least 3 days a week, and that's a huge boost. Mm-hmm. There's no really reliable tests for IGF and for MGF.
You're not being tested. You're saying you're doing this for health reasons.
No, I'm saying, I'm answering the question. What would I take?
Okay.
If I were a horrible person and trying to cheat.
Okay.
At CrossFit or whatever.
Right. Okay.
Like presumably the games, right? Not like cheat at a local throwdown. Like,
right. So you're saying this is the amount that you would take?
Yeah, that me personally. And so the one of the things people get caught, like that's a prescription that I have, right? Mm-hmm. So like I'm taking testosterone legally, but there are people who buy from a guy at the gym, and it's an underground lab, and they don't clean their facilities. So that guy gets busted for taking some derivative of nandrolone. And he's like, I never took that. Well, yeah, you didn't, but the underground lab didn't clean their filters. You didn't clean their machine. So, there was some in the bottle. There was a trace amount that got you busted.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys get busted that way. Tons.
So the testosterone that you're taking, what's that? That's going to give you muscle growth or strength.
Yeah. I mean, I'm taking what would be, that's what it's going to do. I mean, I'm taking what would be like an HRT dose. I mean, I'm old. So
what's HRT?
Like hormone replacement therapy.
Hormone replacement therapy. Okay. So that's just, you're still going to be able to blow big loads. You're going to still be able to build. You're still going to be able to build muscle. It's like the fountain of youth a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, because so women go through menopause, and the term for guys is generally andropause, like lowering of your androgenic hormones. So yeah, it's the same idea. Same idea as women taking estrogen during menopause.
So is that testosterone? Is that synthetic, or is that from like a human cadaver? Where do they get? Do they make it? Is it synthetic testosterone?
No, it's synthesized. Yeah, okay. It's synthetic. It's weird that you went right to blowing big loads too.
Yeah, I've had buddies take it and they're like, "Oh, dude, I'm shooting them across the room."
Yeah, I would have probably gone with the muscle growth as the first thing, but yeah, okay, fair enough.
My buddy owns a gym in Pittsburgh. And he always told me to get on growth hormone and testosterone. He's like, you'll knock your wife right out of the room.
Sign me up.
Yeah. I was like, I'm okay there. I don't want my sperm weaponized.
Yeah, no, it's so. Yeah, you know what? There's tons of stuff people can take. It's not going to make you look like Mr. Olympia if you're doing the amounts. So I'm going to use this dude as an example. I'm not saying he's ever done anything, but like definitely like a Rich Froning physique is achievable. You're not going to win the Mr. Olympia though.
Okay, and that's with the testosterone.
Testosterone, yeah, growth hormone.
Okay.
Really, the growth hormone tests are not. They're not very reliable, and they have to catch you within a day or two. So if you're reasonable, if you're,
but you would start with the testosterone. That would be your base steroid that you would start with.
Yeah, always. Yeah. And that goes for whether you're doing CrossFit or you are trying to win the Olympia.
So always like everyone or not like a Lance Armstrong. Cause he's looking for something.
Always.
Even Lance Armstrong.
Oh, yeah. He had one nut. Of course. No, like I'm not trying to be funny, like him especially.
Well, that was one of the things I heard is that the reason the French and everybody were so accusatory of him was that, and tell me if I'm wrong, that the reason you get blood work if you're taking testosterone, it's a growth hormone and it's going to grow everything. So if you have a cancerous tumor, it's going to grow quickly, because the testosterone is going to cause it to grow more. So Lance's cancer had metastasized and spread so quickly that was indicative of somebody using some kind of steroid use to make that grow. And so,
well, IGF is more going to grow. I guess in theory is going to be more correlated with growing tumors. The testosterone probably wouldn't be a problem,
okay.
But growth hormone, some people have blamed, pre-existing. So generally it's not going to give you a tumor.
Right. But it'll grow.
But a pre-existing one, it does seem like there's a risk.
And that's coming not from testosterone, but from growth hormone.
Yeah, it could be the growth hormone, could be the IGF. A lot of times, if you look at like SERMs, which reduce estrogen.
Wait, I got a question. So IGF is different from growth hormone, and IGF.
Yes.
IGF you supplement, like you take that in
injectable.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was both injectable. But if you look at something like breast cancer, like estrogen dependent breast cancer, when you take oral medication to inhibit that breast cancer growth, it also reduces IGF.
Okay.
So there's something going on with that IGF axis in terms of cancer, that if you had a pre-existing condition or you were predisposed to it, it's a terrible idea.
So the, I, I got this from like my little understanding of it, that if you take human growth hormone, it's going to make you feel younger, look younger, recover better, but it actually could shorten your lifespan because it's going to increase IGF. Is that correct?
No, well, generally there's a negative feedback loop with, so, okay. It's kind of a tough one, right? Because a lot of people that take it, when they say it makes them feel younger, there's always these weird metrics that they use. They're like, it makes my skin more elastic, and my hair feels better, and my fingernails grow faster, and that's all shit I don't care about. It's good for a couple percentage points off your body fat if you know, and a little bit of growth, like in terms of like muscle growth. I don't think it's the fountain of youth people say it is.
Right.
But like if you're a professional bodybuilder, yeah, you have to do a ton of it, right? Just to be competitive.
Do you do it for the recovery, or do you for like to lose that little bit of body fat that's hard to get rid of, that small amount?
Generally, they do say it helps them sleep better.
Okay.
But it's the way I see it used is to drop off that little bit of body fat. Usually they're taking it with thyroid medication. They're usually cutting their estrogen to zero with some kind of anti-estrogen. So all of that, is to peak on that one day and have that sort of bodybuilder contest look. And that's about it.
The same thing can be said about bodybuilder or CrossFitters as bodybuilders, but I have this weird thing about bodybuilders where I feel like it's this weird body dysmorphia kind of like addiction thing. I just don't feel like the bodybuilding world, like the amount of obsession that goes into it when you're telling me how little money they make and just the amount of obsession that goes into it.
Well, here's the thing, right? And this is and you're 100% right. And I'll tell you exactly how you know. Look at most former Mr. Olympias, right? Look at them 5 years after they stop competing, and they're like 20 pounds lighter. That's it. So that tells me they're still using stuff, and they're still using kind of a lot.
Yeah.
So when you see that they're like, oh, I'm retired, and it's like, yeah, but you're still doing drugs that you, quote, only used to compete. You're still doing as much.
Yeah.
That to me smells more like addiction than it does, anything else.
I used to work out in Gold's Gym, Venice, and that's where I met this guy that's on the show all the time, Crazy Bobby, that I talked to. And I remember him pointing, Gold's Gym in Venice has all the pictures of all the bodybuilders and weightlifters and everything. And he points to this guy that's doing, it's like, they're like calf raises or something in a picture. And it's like, he's got like the world record or something. He's this huge dude, huge. And it's like this weird, he's doing something really weird. I forget what it might have been a squat, but in a machine. Like he had the stacks.
Okay.
I remember whatever it was. He's like, look at him. And it says underneath world record holder, everything. He goes, look at that guy. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, see that guy over there? And he points this guy, and it's a tiny guy. Like tiny, like my size. And I'm like 170 pounds. And I go, yeah. He goes, that's him. And I go, fuck off. And he's like, that's him. He goes, that's him without steroids. That's him with steroids. And I go, I don't believe you. And he's like, you want to go over and meet the guy? He's like, I'm going to show you. This is him. And he's like, I'm telling you, that's the difference that it can make if you're using performance in it. And I was like, those are two different people. And he's like, he's not on drugs anymore.
I'm telling you, look up, like, I don't want to throw any like bodybuilders on the bus, but like look up Dorian Yates, right? You know the name, the bodybuilder. Look him up, like, I don't know, present day, whatever you would put in Google to see what he looks like now. He's still huge. There's no way. Yeah, it's like you're not doing this stuff to compete.
But I've had Stan Efford in on the show, and we've talked about it. Like, even these bodybuilders, you don't get that way with just steroids. They still eat giant amount of food. And I don't understand. Like, people talk about steroids killing them. I'm like, I don't think the steroids are going to kill them. I think the amount of calories that they're making their body like metabolize, like the fact that your body has to work that hard to use all those calories that these guys use. I mean, I just know for me to try to overeat to like gain any kind of weight, so many things go wrong in my body, even eating healthy food. Just if I just start eating more protein and more carb, I'm like, oh my God, I feel sick. I feel sluggish.
Well, you're not really made like, maybe those guys, like for me, right? Like maybe they have that in them. Maybe that's part of the package, right? Because even if I took what Stan Efferding took,
right,
or takes, I'm not going to look like him.
Yeah.
Maybe part of the package is that ability to metabolize food, or maybe you're right. Maybe they're just, killing themselves with all this extra food. I can't imagine, to use whatever analogy you want to use, right? I can't imagine you can strap a supercharger on an engine for 20 years and just take it off and be fine and be like, well, I'm not using the supercharger anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
These guys, but like I said, maybe part of that is their ability to eat all that food and not feel like garbage. I feel like garbage if I eat too much.
So if you accidentally, the testosterone that's in your room right now, that it was accidentally there, that accidentally came out of the, do you have to take that because you were taking it as a younger athlete and you just have to continue taking it for the rest of your life? Or do you like the feeling you get from it or the strength you get from it? Why do you continue to take it?
Well, I wouldn't say I have to take it. I'd say I get to take it.
Yeah. Well, no, but I've heard some guys like you can't stop or your testosterone level will really go down because your body stops making it completely because
while you're on it, your body will stop making it. Yeah. Cause your body has a negative feedback loop, right? So if you take, I don't know if you take antioxidants, mm-hmm. Your body has an antioxidant system. When you take antioxidants, your body will stop making them.
Okay.
Like that, anything you put into your body says, oh, cool, this is here now.
Yeah.
So, but if you stop taking it, you might be hypogonadal. You might be lower, by 100 points than you would be for a normal guy your age. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't be zero.
Okay.
I mean, zero would be like you see a guy and you're like, oh, that's a chick, right? Like if you had that sort of no androgens at all, you would see it, like you stop growing facial hair or whatever, right? However your androgens affect you, you'd have a lower level, and you might even be hypogonadal.
What does that mean?
Would you notice that?
What's hypogonadal? What's hypogonadal?
So your testosterone is below, physiological level. Some charts do it at 300. Some charts do it at like 250 nanogram per deciliter. Some guys will feel like garbage if they're less than 500, and some guys wouldn't notice if they dropped to 100. It's very individual.
I just had mine tested. Well, I got a blood test through Inside Tracker, who's a sponsor of the show, and they do this really good blood work and markup and everything and figure out what you should be eating and what you shouldn't. And my testosterone was fine. It was my sex-binding globulin.
SBGH.
Was not good. And so it's like, I forget what it was that I basically.
It was high.
It was high, I guess. And they said
so
that.
Your free testosterone would have been low.
I
mean, if more of it is bound, less of it is free.
And what do you want? You want the free?
Yeah. I mean, free is active, is active hormone. So, but the bound is a carrier molecule, right? So, I don't know that it's that big a deal, but of all things considered, that's not the worst.
Right.
To have a high SHBG.
It was funny. She said, you do CrossFit. I said, yeah. She goes, we see this common in CrossFitters because of the high intensity of like the interval training. And I found that interesting. Which I got to go back and listen to the episode to hear exactly why she said that. Because I was a little, it stunned me a little. I just had 2 kids, and I was, when I was going to have the second kid, I was like, I wonder what my testosterone level is just to make sure I'm all good and everything. And then I was like, I'm fine, And then when I had this test, she was, the only thing that was a red flag was right there with the sex binding globulin. And she explained to me, she said, it's no big deal because your testosterone's fine. And I was like, well, is it fine if I'm getting red flagged here? So,
right.
So I was very suspicious of that.
Yeah. It's also one of those things, right? How do you feel?
Yeah.
I mean, if you feel like garbage and you get it tested, then that could be why.
Yeah.
But if you don't feel like garbage and you get it tested and it's a little bit low, you don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to, unless you think, all right, I want to optimize it.
No, I do, but I do want to know, like, if, like, I love that I was asking you, and you were giving the info about it. You'd start with testosterone if you're doing CrossFit, and you might take a human growth hormone.
Yeah, you might take HGH, but I'm basing this on like what's detectable and what gives you what's easy to get and gives you a benefit. That's gonna.
Okay, well let's do both then. Let's do what would make you the most badass CrossFitter in the world if there was no testing at all. What kind of would you be on? D-ball? Would you be on testosterone, like stenanza? What drugs and what? Because I've seen you write about stuff like. Pro hormones and all like I want to know what exactly would somebody do that would make them this freak of an athlete.
You probably hit EPO pretty hard, right? Because your cardio is going to be important. Mm-hmm. You'd still keep on the testosterone. You'd probably take some kind of nandrolone.
And what's a nandrolone going to do?
That's another variation of testosterone. It's a 19-nortestosterone. The effects. Without getting into a long thing, it's a bit better. People find it helps with joints, with the recovery in terms of injuries seem to happen less or get a bit more soothed. If you have maybe a herniated disc or something, just seems to not hurt as bad. That's because it's a progestin that has an immune response. Okay, so it's beneficial in that way.
I think that's been recommended. I have a track friend, who has said to me, and he works in hospitals, and he's always said to me whenever I have an injury, he's like, "Why don't you just go and I'll get you some." I think it's nandrolone. He's like, he's like, you'll be fine, and like he goes, half a cycle, you'll be feeling all better.
Yeah, and the dose is pretty low for that. Like if that's the goal, right? If you're not trying to get much growth out of it. For everyone, it's going to be a bit different in terms of like actual dosing protocol. They might want to take, those two steroids and call it a day with steroids, take some EPO, because you really don't want to get outside your, you look at like, just to draw an analogy that's kind of, kind of overdone, but you look at like Navy SEALs, right? They're like $160, mm-hmm. right? $170 maybe. Yeah. You really can't get too far outside these sort of parameters in terms of CrossFit and be able to put in.
Yeah, top CrossFitters are 5'8" or 5'8" to 5'10", 5'7" to 5'10", and they're about anywhere from 195 to 205. Is like their weight. 190 to 205 is like what they're going to come in at. Even 205. They need the leverage. I'd say about 195.
Well, they need the levers, right, for lifting. They need the appropriate proportions for the Olympic lifts, but then they need to be able to swim. They need to be able to run. They need to be able to do handstand walks while juggling.
So they're not. So what you're saying is they're not going to want to bulk up too much.
No, and there's a limit, right? There's a limit that you can get out of the drugs, and once you hit this certain limit with EPO, your blood is going to be like, gravy. Like you can't go, you can't just keep piling, red blood cells into the same amount of liquid. So there's a limit, and it wouldn't be, I guess this is my pitch for letting people use drugs. Like it wouldn't be that bad for something like CrossFit. For the NFL, where you could have like conceivably a 450-pound offensive lineman. Yeah. Then you're going to get into a territory where there's a lot of risks with health. But for something like CrossFit, where they need to maintain the right leverage and the right endurance, I don't think it would be that dangerous.
Well, football, that 450-pound guy is becoming a weapon, and can hurt people. CrossFit, you can only hurt yourself is the only thing you'd have to worry about. My buddy, Crazy Bobby, is building this hypobaric chamber that creates more red blood cells by just going in a chamber that takes you to altitude, brings you up and down, and it's like you're climbing Everest, coming back down, climbing, but it's not like you're not going to altitude and staying there. You change constantly, so the pressure changes are completely different. And he's taken it to the Olympic trials, the swimming trials in Nebraska, and had it in the parking lot and had all these guys jumping in it. And the Olympic people were like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he's like, hey, we're not injecting anything. Nobody's doing a drug here. And they were like, there's talk of trying to find a way to make this illegal because it's able to create more red blood cells in your body. It does the
and that's the thing. That's the credibility gap, right? So what you're identifying is this gap where, okay, we found this way that people are sort of gaming the system, but we're going to look stupid if we say don't do this. And then it becomes an open secret that everyone can do it because we don't have a test for it. Up until the late 80s, there was no test for Anavar, right? They said don't do it, but everyone did it. Up until very recently, I think it was Clostebol, they really didn't have a good, reliable test. So one year, all of a sudden, like 100 people tested positive for the same obscure drug. Well, okay, they spotted a hole in the testing protocol. It's not that they all started using it. It's that the test finally went from 6 weeks, or 6 days to 6 weeks.
What does Anavar do?
Anavar again. There's a 2 oxygenation at the second carbon position of DHT. Again, it's got a reputation for being mild, sort of a muscle builder that doesn't put on much water retention. I think all of the DHT derivatives, with the exception of probably Anadrol, have that same sort of.
So that's probably why, as a track athlete, Anavar was recommended to me.
Anavar, stanozolol is also a DHT derivative. Frazobol that Ben Johnson said he took, that's a DHT derivative. Yeah, they all seem to have that really good strength and lean muscle to weight gain ratio.
Have you ever heard the story about somebody? I think it was Charlie Francis, Ben Johnson's coach, thinks that somebody put something in his drink.
Yeah, his water bottle.
Yeah,
there was a guy hanging out, and then this, and then. But I mean, to me, it's right like Occam's razor, isn't it? Kind of a more simple answer to just be like the test that they gave showed a thing that looked really similar, and they popped you.
Oh yeah,
because I think they would probably look really similar. I don't know. I asked some doping people, like, no, that's impossible, but they're going to say that because no. So you've seen. So speaking of the hyperbaric chamber thing, you've seen Chris Bell's documentary.
Yeah. Yes.
And so he's got. Is it Floyd? The other Tour de France guy.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that's a hyperbaric chamber. These are 2 different things: hypobaric and hyperbaric.
So wait, which one?
One sucks pressure in, one blows pressure out. So I believe, I'll tell you, I'll show you, or I'll find out on here.
Floyd Landis?
Floyd Landis, yeah. He used to sleep in a hyperbaric chamber all the time. I saw that years ago and was like, what? What's he doing? And that basically is like being at altitude with little oxygen. Yeah. Hypobaric's different. I believe hypo puts pressure in.
But the same like net effect, you get more red blood cells, whatever.
Yeah, but the reason a hypobaric chamber or altitude chamber is a chamber used during aerospace or high terrestrial altitude research or training to simulate the effects of high altitude on the oxygen in your body, especially hypoxia, low oxygen, and hypobaria, low ambient air. But there's a difference, hypobaric and hyperbaric. Hyper would be, I feel like hyper would be here it is. In most basic definition, hyperbaric means greater or higher than normal pressure, and hypobaric means lesser or lower than normal pressure. So the hyperbaric chamber is putting pressure in. The hypobaric chamber is sucking it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and but I think the difference between what Bobby's doing and what Floyd Landis is doing, Floyd basically gets him to altitude, where there's a higher air pressure. Seems weird because he's at a higher altitude. It should be lower air pressure, I would think. But he's getting the effects of being at a high altitude. But he stays there. So what happens is your body acclimatizes. Your body goes, okay, I'm here. I make enough, and then I'm done.
Right.
This is where. Whereas with Bobby's, the air's getting sucked out, put in, sucked out, put in, sucked out. So it's going to like 2,000 feet, 6,000 feet, 4,000 feet, sea level, 10,000 feet, 8,000 feet. And the machine keeps pumping in and out. And so your red blood cells have to consistently keep being made. So because there is no adaptation. There's no acclimatization.
Okay, so there's like I guess a higher turnover.
Yes. Because like when people climb Mount Everest, they acclimatize. It's really hard once they get to base camp, and they're like, oh, I feel like shit. They stay there for a couple days. They acclimatize. Then they go to camp 1, camp 2, camp 3, camp 4, and they stay, and then they come down, and then they go back up because their body acclimates to the pressure. Right. Where in this situation, the pressure changes are happening so fast, your body can never acclimate. So your body has to make these red blood cells. So it's basically like taking EPO. And so the Olympic committees are going, well, this is bullshit. You found a way to not take a drug and get the same effect.
But the USA Olympic team trains in Colorado exactly to get that effect.
Sure. Well, you're right. They get the high altitude.
But it's accidental that we train in Colorado, the highest place in the country.
Sure. But I mean, he's like build a device that can, and you and I are on the same train of thought where we're like, doesn't fucking matter. He's getting the same effect as you're getting. He's just figured out how to do it. And they're like, but that's unnatural. Well, how are you going to test? How do you know he didn't just stay at altitude or blah, blah, like they just don't like anyone being outside the realm of ordinary.
Well, it's unnatural, but like, then we have like whatever the Olympic kiteboarding team kiteboarding in Colorado. Like, something natural about that.
Look, you could be critical of everything from when they developed track spikes, the first guy that ran in spikes, or a massager. What about this guy who gets a massage every day and so his muscles, scar tissue heals, or there's so many medications that are still over the counter. Or what?
You could get a therapeutic use exemption for most, right? And so I'm not. Let me. Fuck it. I'm not going to do a disclaimer. So you have the same percentage of winter track athletes claim to be asthmatic as there are Ivy League students who claim to be ADHD. So they have to get the drugs, right? And I'm not knocking anyone's whatever condition, but are they really all asthmatic, and are they all really fighting through these cognitive deficiencies at Ivy League schools, or are they gaming the system? I mean, the people claiming those deficiencies in the Ivy League, they're getting extra time on tests. They're not just getting the Ritalin or the Adderall. They're getting extra time on every test. And these Olympic athletes, they're getting albuterol, which opens your airways, right? It's a beta-2 agonist. They're also getting thyroid medication. Are they really all conquering asthma in the Winter Olympics, or the Ivy League conquering ADHD, or are they gaming the system?
So it goes all the way back to, I'm glad I talked to you, because I maintain my position that I really think in CrossFit they should have an open division and a natural division. I just think it would be easier to do, easier to regulate. They don't even have to test then. There doesn't. I feel like testing is bullshit, and there's no reason to even do it then, because there's no question. They can do it if they want. They cannot do it if they want, and they can also, if they're worried about that they don't want to compete against anybody in that other world of the crazy steroid. They go into a natural event, and they like, hey, I'm on the all natural. Hey, my times aren't as good as theirs, but I'm all natural.
Well, like in powerlifting, right? Because they have both divisions, right? And I don't know if it's still this way, but it was this way. If you competed natural and you were using steroids, you were a scumbag.
Yeah.
But if you competed open using steroids, good for you. I don't know if it's still that way, but I tend to agree with that.
Well, I think CrossFit's problem with it is that CrossFit as a business is health and fitness. And for them to say, competitive CrossFit and CrossFit health are two separate things. And for them to say under the moniker of CrossFit, hey, we do, we do steroids, then it goes against all their promoting health.
Now, CrossFit steroid cert, have a steroid cert, like the nutrition cert, just teach people to do steroids.
Is there a way, are there people that are good at doing steroids and people that are bad at doing steroids? Like people that are...
Yeah, like, do you know who Rich Piana was? Well, he died of over PED use. He was inarguably bad at using steroids because he died from them. Are there guys who are good at them? Yeah, I mean, look, the guys that are, Barry Bonds was great at using steroids.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any health effects. He was making like $20 million a year. He was breaking records. He's good at doing them. I mean, that's the metric, right?
If you were going to do them, is there someone you go, and I'm not advocating doing them. And the reason I was asking you, like, what steroids to use, because I'm just curious, like,
sure.
I feel bad because I feel like I might be educating some people out there that are going to be like, oh, I'm going to go do it. But if you are going to go do it, is there somebody you should go to that can, like, teach you to do it and do it properly and do it that you're not going to, because, like, what I'm basically saying is, like, don't go get them from, like, when I was in, running track and I went and got that high school buddy of mine to get them. Like, is there a proper, safe way to go about it that you would?
Generally the whole thing is to do the research. Like, I mean, don't trust anyone, right? Like you want to do your own research. You want to go on, PubMed, or you want to go on whatever, like, medical database and say, all right, what are some of the actual side effects that are documented? What are the actual positive effects? What do they actually use this drug for? Mm-hmm. Is this a blanket insane thing to do because they use this drug for this purpose that, I would never touch. Right. So that's generally, that was my approach. Right. There's tons of, I would probably recommend against going on, like, the subreddit with the biggest dudes or, just asking some guy at the gym. I would say, people kind of want to do their own research. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, what's the saying? Cream rises. Mm-hmm. I think that's a saying, right? If you find someone, like, I hate to use the example because, like, I am published, right? I have written books. I have been cited in medical journals. Find someone like that. Not me, though, specifically. Like, someone beside, don't come to me with that. Right. But someone else.
But if somebody wanted to start off on testosterone, there's a good chance their doctor could prescribe it to them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, the doctor's not going to prescribe a 16-year-old testosterone, but yeah, you find a sympathetic doctor that you say, hey, look, I'm whatever age, it's low for my age or whatever. Yeah. That's definitely a way people could go.
Do the creams work at all?
Yeah. The problem with creams, right? The problem with creams is they're inconvenient and do you want to put something on every day? For me, for whoever left this injectable vial thing in my room, it's just easier to do a shot.
With a prescription with your name on it.
It's bizarre. I catch that guy.
You'd rather do a shot than rub a cream on?
A shot once a week than rub a cream on every day?
Yeah.
Look, then what? You're like, not for anything. You can't get it on anything. So now you're sitting there waiting for it to dry. I don't know what your mornings look like. Okay. Now I know what they look like. You don't go anywhere like everybody else.
Yeah.
But now you're sitting there like, oh, I can't get it on my shirt. I have to wait for it to dry.
Yeah, I
like
get you.
20 minutes.
I got you. Where do you inject it? Right in the upper quadrant of the butt?
In my bathroom.
Yeah, but is that what you like?
Yeah, high and to the side.
Yeah, and it doesn't get, and it's like a week later, it's not sore anymore, right?
No.
Yeah.
But I have two butt cheeks, so it's
Yeah.
like every other.
People always say, "Oh my God, I don't know how people do heroin or people do how they can do injectables." I broke my ankle and flew from Paris to L.A. and they gave me blood thinners, and they were like, "You have to inject this into yourself while you're flying so that you don't get a blood clot while you're flying." So
like intravenous?
No. So I would like pick
Okay.
up just like a little bit of body fat from my stomach and pinch it and just poke it right in there and
Yep.
and just inject it. And I had to do it for, I don't know. They ended up telling me to do it for like, I don't know, 4 days or something, 5 days, and it was like 3 or 4 times a day. I forget. I could be totally off. But after like the second time, I was like, this is nothing. This is so easy. But the first time, the needle just like, I went to like jam it in, and the needle just like bounced back, and I was like, oh, this is going to be hard.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that it's funny what you get used to, you know, like for me, I'd much rather, and they make patches,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess are probably better, you know, in theory than the cream. And they make, you know, there's a whole like bunch of things they make, but so the general, I guess, conventional wisdom is if you're not ready to inject, you're not ready for steroids.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like sort of like, as you said, the oral ones kind of kill your liver. And if you're like, oh, I can't bring myself to do it, you might not have the level of dedication that should be a threshold matter to decide.
I'm just too paranoid and worried about my health. Like I try to cut things out of my like supplement use and to get them in my food as much as possible. Like I'm like, oh, I'm taking this.
What do you take?
Supplement wise, I take some magnesium. I take high levels of vitamin C a lot, depending on what my sleep's like. I take curcumin as like a blood, like a pain reliever sometimes.
Sure.
And I take I take a lot of I supplement a lot of protein because I just don't eat well enough, and I've got to get and I take collagen protein too. So I'll do Vitals collagen, I'll do regular protein, magnesium at night to sleep and for my nerves and everything. And I think that's about it. And then sometimes I'll take cartilage collagen if I've been running a lot. Like if I've been like putting on like high miles, I'll do it just to make sure my knees and everything are fine. But that's about it. And I try to get everything else. Like I try to get my vitamin D from the sun. I try to get my vitamin C from food if I can. Like you said,
but you're not getting 2 grams from food.
Yeah. Well, I do high dosage of vitamin C if, like, let's say I just flew somewhere or I didn't get a night of sleep. I'll do the liposomal vitamin C. The one that comes in the gel, and I just don't like to get sick. And so I try to keep my immune system. And if I do feel like I'm getting sick, I'll take some zinc lozenges. But I mean, like, I don't take ibuprofen. I don't take. So the last thing I'm ever going to do is steroids. But let's say hypothetically I was. Let's say I went, look, I'm getting up there. My last ditch effort of putting on any muscle mass. If someone like me, I'm 5'10", 170 pounds, I start taking testosterone.
Right. You go to your doctor. You say, I want 200 mgs a week. Yep.
What? And I stay on I'm working out 5 days a week, lifting weights. Could there be any change in a guy? I'm late 40s.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. There's something about adding that even 200 milligrams a week. I know for me, I've met guys basically roughly same physique, same kind of measurements, and they do their first cycle. They go to the doctor, they get on hormone replacement, and they to a guy, they have never stopped saying this was a great decision.
Yeah, I've heard the same. I've heard the same, and I know I live in Malibu. I know a bunch of dudes out here that are on it, and you see them, and you're just like, how are you how do you have such low body fat, and how do you have like? I eat with you. You don't eat any differently than I do. What are you doing? And that's it. So there is that assistance going on.
Well, I think also like people that do so people that at least a lot of the guys I know that use steroids, they also do everything else right. There's something about like jabbing a needle, into your butt where you say, all right, I should really be eating right. Like, you don't want to kind of waste it. So they you might take a protein shake or 2 or some collagen. They might take 4 or 5 or 6, gotcha. Just the amount of, how right they do everything else. And that's also what I tell people, do everything right for 3 months. Like literally do everything right for 3 months. Don't miss a workout. Don't cheat on your diet. Do it for 3 months. And, a lot of times they'll come back and they'll be like, everything's going great. I gained this much muscle. I did this. And so now am I ready? I'm like, no, keep doing that.
That's a good point.
Like, well, what's wrong with you?
All right. So you're back to writing some articles again?
Yeah. I just put one out had published on Muscle and Fitness. That deals with mostly history of pro hormones, design of steroids, legislative stuff, laws.
And you're going to continue?
Yeah, I took a pretty long break just for work. I mean, I'm still working in the field and in the industry doing steroid stuff, but not front facing. And I just bizarrely, right before you contacted me, came out with my first article in probably 3 years, my first, third party published article.
Well, I'm glad we got you. I've always wanted to have this conversation on the show because it's such a taboo subject in CrossFit, and people just shove it under the rug. And I'm like, come on, let's at least talk about it.
At least talk about it. Yeah. And no, I didn't even know it was taboo. A girl I know asked me if I use. I'm like, yeah, I have a prescription. She's like, oh, it's just, I'm sorry if that's weird. I know it's taboo. I was like, what? For me, it's like,
yeah, it's taboo in CrossFit because every single soccer mom and Joe fucking weightlifter thinks that they're going to be in the CrossFit Games someday. So nobody would ever talk about it when it's like none of you are going to be in the games. 99.
I think a lot of box owners. I honestly think a lot more box owners. The percentage would be higher for them than people would think.
Yeah.
Those are Uber jocks. Those are people who are lifetime sort of jocks that have mostly been around it. And I think everyone looks at the games, but I would be looking towards guys who put that investment down in staying or becoming part of the fitness industry. So a lot of box owners look pretty good in their 40s and 50s. And
yeah.
Inexplicably have the fountain of youth, at some older, advanced ages. So I'd be looking more that way than I would be looking at necessarily games athletes.
You know who didn't do CrossFit? I'm sorry. You know who didn't do steroids? Greg Glassman.
I think that's a lie. I believe that is. I don't believe that.
There's no way you could look like him and do steroids.
I heard he was shooting loads across the room.
Knocking them through the wall.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. On that note, that's the best way to end the show.
It was.
Hey, thanks for doing this. I've been waiting to talk about this shit forever, and I hope if I ever have questions, I can come to you, even though nobody else. Don't bother them.
yeah, no one else. No, thank you for having me. This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. If they do want to read your stuff, any place like a website or anything?
Geez, you know what? Find me on Twitter. I'm just Anthony Roberts on Twitter because I'm as old as you. So I actually got my actual name. I actually got my actual name.
You are
just Anthony Roberts on Twitter and I'll post stuff.
You are the @Anthony Roberts.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, find him there on Twitter @Anthony Roberts. Are you on Instagram at all?
What's that? No, man, I'm old. I'm old.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks again for doing the show. It was awesome. And thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you all go out there and get what you need to win the 2021 CrossFit Games. Yeah. All right. And hey, rate, review, and comment, guys. I've been asking you to do that. Make sure you do it and tell all you guys got to do. If you guys tell one friend about the show, then I double in size. So tell one friend. Good night, everybody.